Starting us off at number 10, we have Mariah Carey. The singer is notorious for taking her title as pop diva quite literally. From rumors about her bizarre dressing room requests to feuds with co-stars, Mariah has earned herself quite a reputation. When filming a cameo for the 2017 comedy The House, she arrived to set 4 hours late with a list of demands for her trailer. Her co-stars called the experience bananas, which is never a good thing. It's no wonder that her cameo didn't make it into the final cut of the movie. And let's not forget about her feud with fellow American Idol judge Nicki Minaj back in 2012. The two stars were rumored to be at odds from the moment they were both hired on the show. It was during the audition rounds of American Idol that it became clear their feud was more than just rumors. During an argument with Mariah, Nicki said she wasn't going to put up with Mariah anymore and sarcastically called her Her Highness. Up next, number 9, we have Lindsay Lohan. It has been quite a while since we've seen Lindsay lighting up the big screen. Why? One reason could be that she is a huge pain to work with, apparently. Lindsay's lack of professionalism once led to the CEO of Morgan Street Productions threatening to sue Lohan over her behavior on the set of the 2007 film Georgia Rule. In the letter, Lindsay was called out for her many absences from set and constant partying during production. Even Jane Fonda, her co-star in the movie, had enough with Lindsay and yelled at the actress for being late on set one day. I would not want Jane Fonda to yell at me. Like, that just scared me, and it's not even me. Apparently, Lindsay didn't learn from the experience though. In 2010, when she filmed a guest appearance for Glee, Lindsay was apparently late and unprepared when she arrived on set. I had no idea Lindsay was in Glee. Coming in at number 8 is Emma Roberts. Just because you are related to Hollywood royalty, Emma's aunt is Julia Roberts, after all. That doesn't mean it's okay to act like a total princess. But I guess no one told Emma Roberts that. It is rumored that the actress was very difficult to work with on the set of American Horror Story Coven, and even got called out by co-star Gabourey Sidibe. Apparently, Roberts was rude to others on the show and wouldn't talk to crew members. While filming another Ryan Murphy show, Scream Queens, Emma was confronted yet again by a co-star. Allegedly, Jamie Lee Curtis was not a fan of Roberts' diva antics on set and let the actress know. It must have done the trick that time because her behavior was reportedly improved after the chat with Jamie Lee. I also would not want Jamie Lee Curtis yelling at me. I love her. After Freaky Friday, I always wish she was my mom. Fun fact, in case you wanted to know. And for number 7, we have Lea Michele. While she may have played a diva on TV, Lea Michele's off-screen behavior could give her Glee character, Rachel Berry, a run for her money. Michele was called out on Twitter by former co-star Samantha Ware for making her time on Glee a living hell. And after Ware opened the floodgates, the shade from former castmates kept on coming in. Amber Riley responded to Ware's tweets by posting a gif of herself sipping some tea. Heather Morris tweeted, "Was she unpleasant to work with? Very much so." Melissa Benoist and Michelle Scream Queens co-star Abigail Breslin didn't make comments themselves, but were caught liking tweets about Michelle following this incident. That's the silent way of getting involved. They're like, I agree with you, but I'm not gonna say anything about it, because they don't want to get too involved. I do that all the time. At number 6 is Katherine Heigl. When Heigl left Grey's Anatomy in 2010, she said it was so she could focus on her family. However, it's speculated that her departure may be due to tension between her and the show's creator, Shonda Rhimes. A few years after Heigl left Grey's, Rhimes, while speaking about her show Scandal, said, "There are no Heigls in this situation. I don't put up with that bullshit or nasty people. I don't have time for that." This isn't the first time Katherine Heigl has been on the receiving end of these kinds of comments. After calling her 2007 film Knocked Up a little sexist, the actress was seen as difficult to work with, a label her career is only now recovering from. If that, because where is she? I actually don't know. I haven't seen her in anything in so long. At our halfway point, number 5, we have Ellen. For years, the talk show host was beloved by audiences for being nice. That is until 2020, when former employees of the Ellen DeGeneres Show spoke out about what it's like to work for Ellen, and they did not have very nice things to say. According to former staff members, Ellen's on-camera kindness was all for show, and that they weren't allowed to speak to her when they actually saw her. Ironically, Mariah Carey has also spoken about her negative experience with DeGeneres. According to Carey, Ellen made her feel extremely uncomfortable when she grilled the pop star about whether or not she was pregnant during an interview on the Ellen DeGeneres show. Other celebrities, like Everybody Hates Raymond star Brad Garrett, have given their own negative accounts of Ellen. Garrett claims to know multiple people treated horribly by the talk show host. Jumping on down to number 4 is Julia Roberts. It looks like diva behavior runs in the family because much like her famous niece Emma, Julia Roberts is no picnic to work with, and picnics are a good time. While playing Tinkerbell in the 1991 film Hook, the actress was apparently given the nickname Tinkerbell by crew members. While her director on the film, Steven Spielberg, defends her behavior, that hasn't stopped her difficult reputation from following her in the years since. In 1994, on the set of I Love Trouble, it was confirmed by both Roberts and co-star Nick Nolte that the two did not get along. Nolte went as far as to say that she is not a nice person. It is rumored that even an acting legend like Meryl Streep can't convince anyone that she likes Julia Roberts. The two August Osage County stars were apparently so at odds over screen time that Meryl won't work with Julia ever again. That is like an actor's nightmare. Imagine Meryl Streep not wanting to work with you. I would just give up at that point. Heading into our number 3 spot is Kanye West. It is no secret that Kanye West has had some pretty eccentric behaviors, so it shouldn't come as a surprise that he is less than ideal to work with. Apparently West tortures the people at his label Def Jams, and that he is one of the most difficult artists to deal with in the business. Honestly, I could have told you that though. I feel like everyone knows that. While collaborating with Kanye can be tough, it sounds like working for Kanye is no walk in the park either. A former bodyguard of West had shared some of his diva antics. According to him, he was only to wear black around West, touching Kanye would get you fired, and bodyguards were not allowed to speak when Kanye was walking by. Kanye's rules also included his then wife, Kim Kardashian. The bodyguard claims he was fired 2 weeks in when Kanye caught him bumping into Kim in the hallway. Wow, their marriage sounded like a great time. That's sad because they are divorced now. All the way in the number 2 spot, we have Kanye's now ex-sister-in-law, Kourtney Kardashian. Kourtney is known on the show for her hilarious deadpan comments, which are often at her siblings' expenses. She's my idol. I honestly love her sass. I live for it. Though she's often joking, sometimes she can take it too far. Not even Kourtney's own mother could deny that the reality star was hard to work with. Kris Jenner told Andy Cohen at the Keeping Up with the Kardashians reunion that her eldest daughter was the hardest one to manage. Kourtney herself couldn't argue with her momager. I don't want to do things if it's not something I'm really into doing. My answer is no for most things, and if it's gonna be yes, I want to know every detail of what I'm gonna be asked for. Kim Kardashian has also called out her sister for rude behavior. In one incident, Kim says that Kourtney was so mean to one of her nannies that she brought her to tears. According to Kim, Kourtney can't even keep a nanny. I wonder why. And finally, in our number 1 spot, we have Justin Bieber. Becoming a pop star at such a young age could get to anyone's head, and Justin is no exception. Former SNL cast member Bill Hader said that he really didn't enjoy having Justin Bieber around. Hader says that when Justin hosted the show, he brought around an entourage of 20 people. Apparently, the Biebs had his staff hand feeding him pizza and Diet Coke. Where's that kind of treatment for me, Chris? I can't eat pizza, it's fine. Fellow SNL star Kate McKinnon says that Bieber wasn't pleased by her hilarious impressions of the pop star. His diva behavior isn't exclusive to SNL though. Justin has also developed a reputation for throwing tantrums on stage, leaving concerts early, and showing up late to his own shows. Once he even scolded a fan for throwing her hat on stage before later storming off stage because of the audience's screaming. Isn't that the point of your concert? Wouldn't you prefer them to scream than to not scream? I feel like that would be so awkward. Starting off the list at number 10, we have Jennifer Lopez. The famous celebrity is rumored to be one of the worst people to work with because of her constant demands and cold attitude. Jennifer even lost an opportunity to perform at a Premier League tournament for insisting on a tab of demands that includes a private jet and 9 dressing rooms. The league couldn't sustain those demands and decided to give their performance to someone else. Not only that, but when filming on set, Lopez is known to only communicate through assistants and wouldn't talk to other people working on set herself, and would request for people not to apparently look at her. It's gotten to the point that Jennifer is known to be unable to keep a consistent makeup artist and stylist for her unlikable behavior. Honestly, if you put me on a set with J-Lo, there's no way I'm not looking at her. From there, the number 9 spot is taken by Bruce Willis. According to many people who have worked with the actor, he is very difficult to work with. Director Kevin Smith even said that working with Bruce was a soul-crushing experience because his positive expectations of the actor turned sour. Bruce was apparently known on set to have a big ego, and when filming came to an end, Kevin Smith thanked everyone who worked on the film except Bruce because he was apparently a pain to work with. Another director came forward to say that he also had a hard time working with the actor as the pair would clearly not get along and didn't speak a word to each other off camera. Number 8 is going to Megan Fox. According to people who have worked closely with her, Megan finds it hard to continuously have steady work solely because she is tough to work with apparently. When filming on the set of Transformers, certain crew members released a statement claiming that Megan was consistently late or didn't even show up at all. They also stated that she always complained and didn't seem the least bit interested in filming, and because of how she acted on set, Megan was actually kicked out of the multi-million-dollar franchise of the Transformers. Let's also not forget all that drama she had with the director of the movies, Michael Bay. Whoa, honestly I think that's what got her fired, but you're gonna have to look at one of our other videos for that story. Heading to number 7, we have the actor Jennifer Aniston. No! No, I refuse to believe it. No, that's sad. The actress is known for playing likable characters on the big screen, which is why I got so upset because I love her so much. But that kindness apparently doesn't hold up behind the camera. On set, instead of riding with all the other actors, she requested her own luxury SUV to escort her only wherever she wanted to go. She would also disappear into her trailer to avoid interacting with people on set. Though the complaints don't end there, Jennifer has also requested a change to a character's name because the character shared the same name as the apparent woman who ruined her marriage and wouldn't show up to set until that name was changed. I don't know about you, but that seems a little bit dramatic to me. Whether it's true or not, I like to believe that it isn't, but that's because I love her. Moving on to our number 6 spot, we have Lady Gaga. Depending on who you ask, Lady Gaga could be a pleasure to work with or very unpleasant to work with. And according to her former personal assistant, Jennifer O'Neill, Lady Gaga was awful to work with. Her former assistant complained that she had to be on call 24/7 for the pop star, sleep in the same bed, and be demanded around to do simple tasks when Lady Gaga was just too lazy to do them herself. Lady Gaga was sued by her personal assistant for unpaid overtime. When questioned about the allegations against her, Lady Gaga stated that she's actually wonderful to work with and cannot fathom that Jennifer would sue her. The two faced each other in court and eventually they settled it out between each other. It's hard to know who was actually in the wrong in this dispute, but there's one thing for sure, and that it's probably not a good idea to sleep in the same bed as your personal assistant. That's a very strange request if that's true, and I'm uncomfortable. Although I would sleep in a bed with Lady Gaga. Because I'm a crazy fan. Taking number 5, we have supermodel Naomi Campbell. Coming from personal staff and fashion designers that she's worked with, the model has been labeled as a drama queen. Campbell was notorious for arriving late to bookings, acting irrational and uncontrollable on set. She has even left the people working for her in tears for how much of a diva she is. Other people who have worked with her have mentioned that their team has lied on multiple occasions in order to protect Campbell's image. It got so bad that one of Naomi's employees filed charges against her, and even though she denied them, she was found guilty of an assault charge. She was sentenced to 5 days of not so glamorous community service, but that has not stopped her in continuing to act like the drama queen that she apparently is. The number 4 spot is given to Jennifer Lawrence. You may know her in her role in the Hunger Games, but her co-workers know her as a nuisance to work with. Lawrence presents herself as a relatable girl to the public for her risky jokes and careless behavior, creating a very likable public image. I vibe with her. But when this behavior is brought on set, instead of being likable, it seems very unprofessional. Multiple co-stars Co-stars of hers have called her out for being hard to work with, as she doesn't care to remember her lines, breaks character often, pulls pranks on set, and apparently oversteps people's boundaries. Her unprofessional behavior has caused multiple people in the industry to avoid working with her again and has led to her taking this number 4 spot. Jumping to our number 3 spot, we have musician Chris Brown. Chris is not new to controversy, and that trend continues with his relationship with other people in his industry. Apparently, on his appearance on Good Morning America, Chris threw a temper tantrum after being questioned about his charges, and Chris became so angry that he walked off set and hid in his dressing room. Additionally, Brown's personal employees and security have come forward to tell the public how difficult he was to work with, and mentioning that every day they wouldn't know if he would wake up on the wrong side or the right side of the bed. He does have temper, and let's not forget the Rihanna story, y'all. Anger issues. We're at the number 2 spot, and that is going to the famous actor Jared Leto. One of the main reasons other celebrities avoid working with Leto is for his off-camera behavior in the movie Suicide Squad. When the actor was cast as the Joker, he had big shoes to fill for former Joker Heath Ledger. Though Leto took the role very seriously beyond the camera, and maybe too seriously. Jared Leto crossed the line with his antics towards his co-stars when sending co-star Margot Robbie and other actors starring in the movie deceased animals and other disturbing gifts. Like, I'm not even kidding, he'd wrap them up in a box and send it to their trailers. Very weird. This was justified by him to get more in character, he said, and to better portray the Joker role, but all it accomplished was making his co-stars very uncomfortable. Like, no thanks. That's weird method acting. And finally, taking our number 1 spot, we have Shia LaBeouf. In his rise to fame, Shia seemed to be a personable celebrity that was gaining the likeness of the public. But after his claim to fame, Shia has been in multiple controversies in the media that has made the public and the people working with him turn to dislike him. Now the actor is notorious in the industry for his ignorance and very big ego. From the multiple accusations against him of plagiarism to criminal offenses, Shia has a great deal of offenses against him. Sources that have worked close to the actor have claimed that he is not easy to work with, and his behavior towards his female co-stars is unacceptable. Furthermore, Shia's life behind the camera has become increasingly dangerous to the people around him. The actor cannot seem to stay away from the headlines, with multiple lawsuits against him from his ex-girlfriend FKA Twig, being charged with trespassing, charged with harassment, and being escorted off set for his disruptive behavior.
Starting us off on number 10, Jimmy Fallon. The beloved late-night host has been knocked down a few pegs after mass scrutiny has been launched his way. Following the Black Lives Matter movement, many celebrities have had their past dissected by fans for their racist histories. Jimmy Fallon is now one of those celebrities under the microscope. After a clip from a sketch back in 2000 resurfaced, Jimmy was heavily scrutinized for his participation in performing in blackface. In the skit, Jimmy was supposed to be impersonating actor Chris Rock. Haven't we learned by now that blackface is bad? I mean, blackface has always been bad, but really, must we remind people every few years about this? Also, why was it even necessary to put on blackface to impersonate Chris? He's more than just a skin color, people. Needless to say, a lot of people are upset with Jimmy for this, and even had the hashtag JimmyFallonIsOverParty trending on Twitter when the news broke. Jimmy has since apologized for his actions, but many say that they will never see the host the same way again. In at number 9, Vanessa Hudgens. Vanessa Hudgens is next up on our list of the most hated celebrities of the year because of her comments made about the current global health crisis. Back in March, when this whole crisis sort of began, Vanessa took to her Instagram live and spoke out about her thoughts of the situation. Vanessa went on to say, even if everybody gets it, like, yeah, people are gonna die, which is terrible, but inevitable? Fans were seriously not happy with her remarks and decided to cancel her for it. I mean, I don't blame them. Sure, back when it was the beginning of all this madness, we didn't know how long things were gonna last, but come on, this isn't a situation to make light of. I know we were all bored of being stuck at home, and we were struggling with the uncertainty of it all, but still, it's not a very nice thing to say. Vanessa later went back to social media to clear up some things, saying, "I don't take the situation lightly by any means." She apologized for her remarks and has tried to move on from the situation, but it still made her quite a bit of a public enemy for a while. Cruising through at number 8, we have Elon Musk. We've seen a lot of controversy come out about Elon this year. From naming his kid after a barcode to his views on the global health crisis, Elon hasn't been in everyone's good books this year. The SpaceX founder has been scrutinized on Twitter all year, and it seems that no one's really buying into his crap anymore. Even partner Grimes had to call him out on his tweets. Most recently, Grimes had to make Elon come to his senses defenses after tweeting about his views on pronouns. Grimes, who was a big advocate for transgender and non-binary rights, had issued a response to Elon's tweet after saying that pronouns suck, by replying with saying, "I love you, but please turn off your phone. I cannot support hate. Please stop this. I know this isn't your heart." Fans were not happy about the remarks made by Elon, but that's nothing new. Elon has also vocalized his support of rapper Kanye West as he tried running for president, and has even made light of the current health crisis by tweeting "Free America Now" in an effort to get people back to work. My conclusion with Elon here is that he needs to take a break from the internet for a while. He's been ruffling people's feathers a lot this year, so I think it'll do everyone some good to see him stop tweeting for a while. Over here at number 7 we have Lea Michele. Back in June, actress Lea Michele saw her career take a nosedive after co-worker Samantha Ware spoke out about her time on set with Lea, calling it a living hell. The dam holding her career together bust wide open, and a whole slew of allegations against Lea began to surface. Lea had posted a tweet regarding George Floyd saying that the racism must end. Samantha then replied to this tweet saying, "Remember when you made my first TV gig a living hell?" and referenced how her many microaggressions made Samantha question her career in Hollywood. Judging by the fact that Samantha's tweet was in all caps, I think it's safe to say that she's pissed and she's looking for accountability. It wasn't too long after this initial tweet that more people began to come forward and discuss their grievances with Lea. Even her partnership with popular food brand HelloFresh fell through, as they declared that they do not condone racism or discrimination of any kind. To make matters worse for the actress, the apology that she issued wasn't really much of an apology, as she stated that she didn't remember the behavior that she was being accused of, but she had clearly acted in ways which hurt other people. Now, with her accusations and sorry excuse for an apology, no one's really out here trying to forgive Lea, and I personally believe that it'll be a while before we see anyone budge on that. Why can't we all just be nice to people? At number 6, Hartley Sawyer. Flash actor Hartley Sawyer, known for his role as the Elongated Man, is in some deep trouble with fans. Recently, some of Hartley's tweets from 2012 have resurfaced, and boy are they ever problematic. The now fired actor is being scrutinized for some harsh words sent on Twitter regarding his past racist and misogynistic views. Some of Hartley's tweets are so incredibly vile that I was shocked when I read them. And there are so freaking many. Normally when a celebrity is called out for past tweets, it's usually just a few, but this is way more than just a few. There is like an avalanche worth of horrible things said by Sawyer. Where did this come from? There are so many misogynistic tweets that discuss abuse and calling women animals and beasts that is just so much. If you've ever watched him on The Flash, you know that his character is a pretty sweet dude, so looking at him from this point of view is a serious shock to the system. Halfway through at number 5, Amber Heard. Aquaman actress Amber Heard has been in the news a lot lately, but not at all for anything positive. Amber and ex-husband Johnny Depp have been in an ugly court battle fighting allegations made by the Sun newspaper, saying that Johnny had been abusing the actress. For a long time, people actually believed the allegations to be true, but finally, the real truth came out that revealed that the actual abuser was Amber. For years, people had held the allegations of abuse against Johnny, which subsequently hurt his career. But after finding out that the situation was actually the other way around, fans are coming to Johnny's defense. The whole story really opened people's eyes to the stereotypes surrounding abuse. People often forget that although male abusers are more common and more talked about, men actually face domestic violence and abuse by their partners as well. Since the news broke about Amber's abuse against Johnny broke, fans have been demanding accountability be taken, as well as justice. There's even a petition going around requesting that Amber be removed from the upcoming Aquaman sequel. As the court proceedings carried on, we found out more about the alleged abuse that Amber had committed. Things like severing Johnny's fingertip and cases of verbal abuse are all over this case. Fans are feeling sorry that they didn't come to Johnny's defense sooner, and this whole thing is just so heartbreaking. Johnny has been through so much over the past few years, dealing with some serious relationship turmoil, abuse, and even having to deal with the public accusing you of said abuse even though you are actually the victim in this scenario must really suck. Obviously, people are straight pissed with Amber Heard, and for good reason too. In at number 4, Kanye West. Rapper Kanye West has been making a lot of headlines this year, mostly for his bid to run for president. In a very public display, Kanye has been all over social media talking about his presidential campaign, among other things. At his rally in South Carolina, things got pretty heated for the artist as he went into a sort of manic episode and started going on about things completely unrelated to his campaign. Among those odd topics were stories about Kim Kardashian's conception of their first child North, as well as his views on religion and his belief that abolitionist Harriet Tubman actually sold slaves instead of freeing them. Now, in defense of Kanye and everything he's been saying recently, it does seem that he's in a bad place mental health wise, and a lot of people are trying to get him some help, but I can see why a lot of people are upset with him. Many of the things that Kanye has spoken out about have deeply offended people, including his own family. Shortly after that catastrophe of a rally took place, his wife Kim Kardashian took to Twitter in an effort to de-escalate the situation, but also to voice her disappointment in what Kanye said that night, especially about their eldest daughter. All in all, Kanye's been in some trouble online, and although he seems to be getting the help that he needs, I don't think that fans will be too quick to forgive him, or even vote for him for that matter. Chugging on through to number 3, we have Jeffree Star. Makeup mogul and YouTuber Jeffree Star has been on a lot of people's hate lists for some time now, but this year, with the explosion of the Black Lives Matter movement, people are coming for his many wigs once again. In another resurfaced scandal, Star is being accused of racism for like the billionth time in his career on the internet. The YouTuber has carried around the label of being a racist for many years and has made countless apology videos for that, but this year, fans have had enough of him. After an old website of Jeffree's resurfaced on the internet with offensive language as well as photos of him posing with the Confederate flag, Jeffree is back on the fiery coals of Twitter and he's getting roasted. I don't think anyone's really surprised at this point. I mean, 2020 is the year of cancellation, so obviously Jeffree has to be a part of it. Fans are also still angry with him over his involvement with the infamous Dramageddon from last year, and as Dramageddon 2.0 began to rear its ugly head once more this year, Jeffree's reputation took a massive hit. Between his accusations, his past, and just him being Jeffree, he's lost followers, business, and even his collaboration with Morphe. He's had so much backlash over the years that I don't really think anything will change with him. He's made yet another apology video and has just continued on with his life, so I guess that it's only a matter of time before we see him caught in the middle of a next YouTube drama. Coming in close to the end of number 2, we've got Shane Dawson. Speaking of problematic YouTubers, let's talk about Shane Dawson. Shane, much like his YouTube counterpart Jeffree Star, has also had his fair share of YouTube controversies. Shane has also had a reputation for being quite offensive. This year, alongside Jeffree, he has also faced cancellation on the internet. Once again, after footage of him in blackface resurfaced, he was called out for his past racist behavior. As every good YouTuber does, he made an apology video, but that wasn't enough for many fans. As if his current situation couldn't get much worse, YouTuber Tati Westbrook, remember her from Dramageddon? Yeah, she called Dawson out and accused him of being a part of the orchestration of the whole Dramageddon fiasco. Oh, and I'm not done. Shane was also called out by none other than Jaden Smith himself on Twitter. The son of actor Will Smith criticized Shane for making sexualized remarks towards his sister, Willow Smith, back when her song Whip My Hair was first released. In the resurfaced video, Shane is seen in front of a poster of then 11-year-old Willow Smith and acting out in a sexual manner. Both Jaden and Jada Smith were upset about the video and demanded accountability. Since all of this unfolded, Shane's been MIA from the internet and no one knows if or when he'll be back. One thing's for sure, however, no one's gonna be forgiving Shane for a while. Finally, capping things off at number 1, we have Ellen DeGeneres. Now, I'm sure this doesn't come as a surprise to you guys, but here in the number 1 spot, we obviously have Ellen DeGeneres. I mean, come on guys, she's had the biggest scandal of the year and we're not even done the year yet. 2020 has not been a good year to be Ellen. But just as a recap, Ellen has been getting absolutely destroyed in the media and on the internet this year. It all has to do with her bad attitude and poor work environment on the set of the Ellen DeGeneres show. We've seen new developments with this story come around at least once a week, and it doesn't seem to be settling down anytime soon. She's had allegations of poor workplace behavior and misconduct be thrown at her, as well as to other execs from the show since the beginning of this year, and it just seems to have snowballed since then. As more and more former employees have come forward to share their horror stories of the celebrity, Ellen's grave has just been dug deeper and deeper. At this point, there's no saving her career. I mean, 1 or 2 scandals here and there can be redeemed, but if you've been facing the hellstorm that is Twitter for months, there's no coming back from that. Even when Twitter decided to cancel Genghis Khan for who knows what, even he could come back from that, and he's been dead for 800 years. Ellen, sorry to say, but you might be Hollywood's newest public enemy number 1. Kicking things off at number 10, Ed Brown. also known as Big Ed. Big Ed has made a big impact on viewers during his time on 90 Day Fiancé. But since the beginning, fans of the show haven't been too impressed with Ed and his character. Fans were pretty displeased with how Ed treated his girlfriend Rosemary Vega on the show. Ed faced backlash for lying to her about his height, commenting on her appearance, telling her to get an STD test, and lying to her about wanting more kids. There was just a lot wrong with their relationship, and the fact that when he would lie to Rosemary, he didn't seem remorseful at all. But his actions on the show aren't the only reason why Ed has faced some backlash. Ed's former co-worker came forward with allegations that Ed had harassed and insulted her over the course of several months. Ed's co-worker Lorelai Clemens claimed that Ed was grooming her, and she experienced verbal harassment and ended up in the hospital and dealt with a lot of health issues as a result of an incident that happened with them. He's not really as genuine as he claims to be, and baby, we've seen it. In at number 9, Cardi B. This year, Cardi B has faced heaps of backlash, mostly pertaining to her song WAP. Yes, we're talking about this again. But I mean, although she's found a lot of success through the release of the song, she's also acquired quite a lot of hate as a result. There have been people saying that the song is too vulgar and that it's too sexual and the song is degrading to women. We've heard opinions from politicians to actors and everyone in between, but Cardi and her creation have been at the center of it all. Cardi doesn't seem to care much about what people think of her because she's proud of what she's created, but that doesn't stop people from hating her. Cardi's faced backlash in the past for allegedly assaulting men and for her criminal background, but she's never changed for anyone, and I doubt she ever will. Cardi really just remains unfazed by the whole thing. In at 8, Doja Cat. Doja Cat, my apparent celebrity doppelganger, got some serious hate this year just for it all to be rescinded. The singer was cancelled and even had her very own over party trending on Twitter just for people to double back and apologize, saying that they were wrong and taking back her cancellation. What started the controversy that had people hating on her earlier this year was a resurfaced video of Doja Cat in an alt-right chat room. People online were claiming that she was participating in the chat talking to racists and laughing at their racist jokes, so naturally they pegged Doja as a racist as well. Following the chat room allegations, one of her old songs resurfaced where people were claiming that she was making fun of victims of police brutality. Obviously this was pretty bad and Doja was getting a lot of hate for it, but soon enough the claims that Doja was racist were debunked as the truth about the chat rooms came out, saying that they were not racist at all and Doja had never said anything racist. Soon the hashtag #WeAreSorryDoja started trending and the whole scandal pretty much blew over as if nothing happened. At 7, Tana Mongeau. Tana Mongeau is no stranger to getting hate, that's for damn sure. But 2020 has brought on a new wave of hate, prompting Tana to be forced to take accountability for her past actions. An influencer named Kaylin Berry made a video titled "Finally Revealing the Truth About Tana Mongeau," where he talked about how Tana mistreated him when they worked on a channel together called Trash back in 2016. Not too long after the video was released, another influencer by the name of Vanessa Briella came forward to talk about Tana, as well as her manager Jordan Verona. Both Kaylin and Nessa accused Tana and her manager of gaslighting, spreading lies, and dismissing the feelings of the black creators who they worked with. The allegations came up following the Black Lives Matter movement, where a lot of people had been coming forward to highlight the microaggressions against black people in the industry. Fans called on Tana to address the situation and take accountability for her actions. She finally released an apology video addressing everything she's been accused of, but people thought the video was stale and robotic and gave her a hard time for that too. In at number 6, Evangeline Lilly. Back in March, when the world was starting to lock down and address the global health crisis, we saw some celebrities make some questionable judgments on the situation, as well as voice some pretty unpopular opinions. Back when Gal Gadot was singing to the internet to lift spirits, and Vanessa Hudgens was speaking ill of those affected by the virus, we saw Marvel actress Evangeline Lilly posting about how she was dealing with the global health crisis. In an Instagram post, Lilly posted that it was business as usual and she dropped her kids off at gymnastics class and went on with her day. Backlash ensued, and in response, the actress said that the lockdown protocols felt like martial law and that she valued her freedom over her life. A very unpopular opinion. Even Game of Thrones star Sophie Turner chimed in to call Evangeline's decision stupid. I mean, it's not the smartest decision, but that's just my opinion. Halfway through at number 5, Chris D'Elia. There's been a lot of hate towards Chris D'Elia following accusations of making advances on underage girls and sexual misconduct. There have been several young women who have come forward to claim that Chris had made advances on them when they were under the age of 18. Many of the young women claim that they've been groomed by Chris and have been sharing their experiences on Twitter, as well as proof of their encounters with the comedian. But these girls aren't the only ones to come forward with claims of inappropriate behavior against Chris. There was also an alleged incident where Chris exposed himself to a hotel staff member when he called for assistance with his room, and when the woman left, he tried to get her to come back in his room again. Like she would? I mean, come on. The backlash against Chris had cost him some of his fan base, as well as his upcoming show dropped by Netflix. In at 4, Lana Del Rey. This year, singer Lana Del Rey has come under fire for her comments about women in music. Lana was receiving hate for bringing up a double standard that stars like Nicki Minaj, Beyonce, Doja Cat, and others receive praise for their music, talking about being sexy, wearing no clothes, and other topics, whereas critics have called Lana out for allegedly glamorizing abuse and other things. Lana claimed that the fact that she gets hate for singing about certain topics isn't fair for her, and that there should be a feminist community for women like her who get their voices taken away by other stronger women or men who hate women. She was also criticized on Twitter for calling out women of color to support her argument, though people say that she had completely glossed over how those women have also had their struggles with writing about their own issues, and called Lana out for her white privilege. Although there were some who agreed with her statement, some did not like the way that she worded it. At number 3, Liu Yifei. Liu Yifei is the new leading lady in the Disney live-action remake of Mulan. Though the movie has been pushed back because of the pandemic, the film has finally been released, but people are trying to boycott the movie because of Yifei's support of the Hong Kong police. There has been a lot of controversy surrounding the Hong Kong police, as they've been clashing with protesters who are pro-democracy in the country. There have been many violent clashes in the past, and the UN Human Rights Office as well as Amnesty International have condemned the Hong Kong police for their use of force against protesters. People online have been very angry with the actress's support of the police force because of her large following, saying that she could have been a voice for justice rather than supporting the brutality. The movie has also come under fire for filming in an area that is currently being used as detention camps for minorities, and has been condemned as human rights abuse by human rights advocates. In at number 2, Bella Thorne. This year, Bella Thorne has been receiving backlash because of her OnlyFans scam. The former Disney star announced a few weeks ago that she was starting an OnlyFans page where fans could pay to see exclusive content of the star. The response to her launch was huge, and she made over $1 million in the first 24 hours of the site being live, but soon this success came back to haunt her. Fans were not happy with the content and requested a refund for their purchases, and because the OnlyFans guidelines permitted that, customers received their refund, but at the expense of many other creators on the site. The money that was returned to the customers was tied to the income of many other creators, and therefore OnlyFans was in a deficit and were not able to pay other creators as a result. People were really upset with Bella because her scam cost other creators their income, since they were gonna have to wait 30 days to cash out their earnings instead of the usual 7. Fans were hating on Bella not only for scamming her customers by not providing what they thought she would, but also because she single-handedly broke the system which supplied payments for other creators on the platform. Finally, at number 1, J.K. Rowling. There's a lot going on with J.K. over here. She's been getting hate for months now, and every time she comes out with a new statement, it just keeps getting worse. All of this started back in June when JK came out with statements about transgender people, and many people took offense to what she'd been saying. JK spoke out about how women are the only people who menstruate. She posted about TERF, which stands for Trans Exclusionary Radical Feminist. She wrote about her support for a woman who lost her job because she was transphobic, and liked a tweet that compared hormone therapy to antidepressants. Basically, people are hating her because she's allegedly been transphobic. Bottom line. Recently, she's dug her grave just a little bit deeper as she announced a new book that explores a cold case involving a transvestite serial killer. Though JK says that she's a supporter of trans rights, her actions seem to say otherwise, so she's been faced with a lot of backlash from the LGBT community, as well as the cast of the Harry Potter movies. At number 10, Bill Maher. I'm sure we are all familiar with how outspoken Bill Maher is. He's said some things in the past that people have no doubt taken offense to, but after one comment that he made, it seems as though he's made an enemy with James Corden, and now they just don't like each other. Back in 2019, Bill made some offensive comments about weight, where he said, quote, Fat shaming doesn't need to end, it needs to make a comeback. Some amount of shame is good. Shame is the first step in reform." End quote. When James saw this, he took the first 8 minutes of his Late Show episode to discuss the comments that Bill made, where he said, quote, "So I sat at home and I'm watching this and all I could think of was like, oh man, somebody needs to say something about this. If only there was someone with a platform who knew what it was really like to be overweight, and then I realized, oh, that's me. There's a common and insulting misconception that fat people are stupid and lazy, and we're not." End quote. Bill later responded to James's criticisms of his comments, essentially telling him that he was wrong to not shame people for their appearance, but he was pretty heated. People often have opposing views, but it looks like this is a feud that they won't really come out of. At number 9, Jack Allison. Jack Allison is a member of the Writers Guild of America and used to write for Jimmy Kimmel's show back in the day, so he knows his way around late night TV. So when he found out about the shady things that James was doing on his show, he had to call him out for it, and it was not pretty. According to Jack, he went to a WGA meeting for late night writers, and James showed up to said meeting to advocate for a lower pay grade for late night writers. Doesn't really sound like something to advocate for, since it's affecting people's livelihoods, right? Jack alleged that since James showed up to the meeting without any other staffers from his show, that James made that trip to the meeting just for this request. Jack also alleged that James wanted to hire writers' assistants for 13-week periods so that he didn't have to pay them as much as a full-time contractor. He didn't think that this was fair at all, and so he decided to expose James on Twitter. James fired back online saying that this was all untrue, but Jack stuck to his story. I guess he really had it out for James because of how unfairly he wanted to treat his staff, and honestly, I can't blame him. Now before I carry on with this list, I would like to take a moment to ask you guys to consider leaving a like on this video if you're enjoying it so far, because it really does help the channel out and we appreciate your support. At number 8, Ricky Gervais. It's a common thing for comedians to take jabs at other comedians. It's really just part of the culture of comedy, but I feel like when it comes to Ricky Gervais and James Corden, the jabs that he makes aren't just for laughs, but there's actual hate fueling them as well. Even though they both rose to fame in similar ways, both getting their start on British television, then making their way into movies and hosting, Ricky still seems to have a distaste for James, and he makes that apparent at every moment he can by making jokes about the late night TV host. This first started back in 2009 when James portrayed Ricky on his show. I guess Ricky wasn't a fan of the way that he was played on TV because since then, he's been a little hostile towards James. One source commented on Ricky's feelings towards James when they said, quote, "Ricky is now somewhat obsessed, attacking James when his jokes fall flat and poking fun of his size." End quote. In recent years, Ricky has also made a few jabs at Corden's jokes about Harvey Weinstein as well as James's role in the movie Cats. At number 7, Ricky Whittle. Actor Ricky Whittle, best known for his roles on The 100 and American Gods, isn't a fan of James Corden after he called the late night host out for comments that he made about a show that the two of them had once starred in. Ricky used to be on a British soap opera called Hollyoaks, and back in 2000, James was a guest star on one of the episodes. Years later, when asked about his time on the show, James had nothing positive to say about it. He told sources about his experience on the show saying, quote, "I'd actually rather die than go back. It's effing awful. It just breeds all these people walking around in this chicken in a basket fame, talking about going to LA, you know?" End quote. Ricky did not appreciate the shade that James threw at the show that gave them both their start, and so he clapped back at James where he said, quote, "It's very childish that he's slating the place where he came from, the place that made him. Good luck to him, I hope he doesn't bump into us on a night out." End quote. I think it's safe to say that Ricky is not a fan at all. At number 6, Artie Lang. Comedian Artie Lang seems to have a lot to say about a handful of Hollywood stars, especially those who have been associated with Howard Stern. Artie and Howard once worked together when he served as something of a sidekick to Stern on the Howard Stern Show back in 2001 to 2009, but he was forced to leave the show due to his substance abuse issues. It seems like the comedian carried that grudge with him for a long time because he really doesn't have anything nice to say about Howard or anyone else that he's worked with. For example, James Corden. Back in 2016, during Artie's podcast called Artie Quitter, the comedian started ripping on Stern, saying that he doesn't like how his comedy has changed from being more brash and abrasive to being more celebrity friendly, but then somehow he got into ripping on James Corden as well, since he was a guest on Howard's show not too long before this episode of Artie's podcast. The comedian started making comments about James saying, quote, "When James Corden opens his fat effing mouth to do karaoke in a car, something that wouldn't be effing funny to the secretaries at an accounting firm, and gets an Emmy for it, I'm allowed to say that he sucks." End quote. Those were some harsh words for someone who I don't think has ever been personally associated with, so I guess this is just him projecting his anger onto James, but the bottom line here is that he's certainly not a fan. At number 5, Liam Gallagher. I think that the one thing that James Corden is best known for is his carpool karaoke segment on his late night show. Over the series of episodes he's done, he's sung with everyone from One Direction to Adele to Migos and more. But even though the show reaches out to many artists, some of them have refused to participate in the segment, like Liam Gallagher, for example. Liam is the former singer for the band Oasis, and he told GQ magazine back in 2017 about how he was invited to film an episode of Carpool Karaoke with James Corden, and he flat out refused. Going more in depth into why he refused, Liam said, quote, "No thank you very much, no effing chance, mate. With that fat bloke from Kevin and Perry, James Corden is a knobhead," end quote. Clearly he doesn't like James very much, but no one really knows why. Maybe it's personal, or maybe he just doesn't like James's vibes or something. Either way, Carpool Karaoke with Oasis is never gonna happen. At number 4, Asia Argento and Rose McGowan. Sometimes it seems as though James Corden has trouble reading the room. Yes, he is a comedian, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be constantly cracking jokes, because there is an appropriate time and place for comedy, and you have to be mindful of that. James's lack of respect for the Me Too movement is the reason why Asia Argento and Rose McGowan hate James Corden so much, because after he made jokes about Harvey Weinstein at the height of his public takedown, they never saw him the same way. Back in 2017, James was hosting a black tie event for AIDS research where he did a little comedy monologue that seriously fell flat. He made several jokes about Weinstein, saying things like, quote, "This evening is so lovely that Weinstein already invited it up to his room for a massage," and quote, "It's been a weird week, hasn't it, watching Harvey Weinstein in hot water. Ask any of the women who watch him take a bath, it's weird watching Harvey Weinstein in hot water." Two Hollywood stars who were heavily involved in exposing Weinstein for his crimes, Asia Argento and Rose McGowan, took serious offense to James's jokes, and they had some harsh words for him, calling the comedian an effing piglet and saying, quote, "Shame on this pig and everyone who grunted with him," end quote. There are just some things that you shouldn't joke about, and the situation with Weinstein was certainly one of those things. At number 3, Pierce Brosnan. You know when you meet someone who just rubs you the wrong way? Well, this is apparently how Pierce Brosnan felt about James Corden, because they had a run-in at a concert one time and it seemingly wasn't a pleasant experience. During an episode of The Late Late Show in 2017, James Corden spilled the tea about a celebrity that he thought was rude during their segment of Spill Your Guts or Fill Your Guts. That night's guest, Khloe Kardashian, asked James about his worst experience with a celebrity, and James told the viewers about a run-in that he had with Pierce at a concert while with his wife. James said, quote, "I went to see U2 and Pierce Brosnan was there with some friends, and they left halfway through the gig to go off, so me and my wife moved into this area, and literally this arm went on here and pushed me out of the way. I looked at him like that and he didn't even glance at me," end quote. So basically, Pierce left his section for a bit and James moved in, but when Pierce got back, he shoved James out of the way. There was never really an explanation as to why Pierce shoved James, but clearly he just doesn't like the guy. You don't always have to have a reason, but I just wonder what prompted Pierce to do that. At number 2, Patrick Stewart. While at an award show back in 2010, Patrick Stewart exchanged some quips with James Corden and really dug into the way that he was presenting at the show that evening. James was hosting the 2010 Glamour Women of the Year award, and when Patrick took the stage, he took the opportunity to criticize the way James had been hosting, where he said, quote, "When the presenters are up here and when the recipients are receiving their awards, don't stand at the back of the stage with your hands in your pockets, looking around as though you wish you were anywhere but here," end quote. James tried to quip back, saying that the people accepting the awards should just hurry up. Then Patrick replied saying, quote, "From where I was sitting, I can see your belly, and that was right there at the back of the room." To which James then replied saying, quote, "You can see my belly and we can all see you dying right now," end quote. It was just a really messy back and forth situation, but you could kind of tell that Patrick was frustrated with James and that he just really doesn't like him very much. And finally, at number 1, Hollywood. Now I know this isn't necessarily a celebrity, but I would argue that much of Hollywood doesn't like James Corden. Though yes, he's getting booked for a lot of roles these days, a lot of movie critics have some harsh words for the comedian. One of the most recent negative criticisms that James received from a number of sources came from his performance in the movie Prom. A lot of people didn't like his portrayal of the character, and many took offense because of the way the character was played, because James seemed to have laid into a lot of gay stereotypes while in character. On top of that, James has been criticized for other roles like his character in the movie Cats, and even his hosting of the Friends reunion. There are a lot of people who think that he's just doing the absolute most in Hollywood, and it's not good, so a lot of people just don't like him for that.
Kicking off this list at number 10 is Miley Cyrus. If you followed her past relationship with Liam Hemsworth at all, then you probably remember the alleged love triangle between Miley, Liam, and Jennifer. That's not a triangle, that's a diamond. Rumors spread like wildfire when the Hunger Games first came out, with people suggesting that Jen and Liam had something between them off the big screen. For years, no one really knew if it was true or not, but then Jen confirmed it for fans in December of 2015. She went on Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen and admitted to making out with Liam off set. Andy asked her if they have ever kissed when the cameras weren't rolling, and Jennifer's response was, "Liam and I grew up together. Liam's real hot. What would you have done?" "Yeah, I have." Reports say this is actually why Miley and Liam got back together after their first initial split, because Miley got jealous and thought she might lose him to Jen. Now, how much of this is true, we won't really know, but Jen confirmed that she and Liam had a little something something, and that is something I've always wondered personally. So, glad it was confirmed. Up next, number 9 is Jared Leto. She had some sort of weird tension with the actor back in 2014, and it all came out at the Oscar Awards. She took the stage to present the award for Best Actor and called out someone in the audience by asking, "What? Is this funny?" Turns out the mystery audience member was Jared Leto. He explained what happened later on and said that Ellen DeGeneres was on the sidelines making jokes that had him, his mom, and his brother all cracking up and laughing. When asked about if he felt bad interrupting Jennifer unintentionally, he made sarcastic comments like, "I guess we don't have any manners." To top it all off, he was then asked about Jen's famous fall when she tumbled up the stage to accept her award at the Oscars, and Jared responded by saying, "You know, I'm starting to wonder if this is a bit of an act." We're not sure what the tension is between them, but there is a lot of sarcasm between the two of them. They both just seem like very sarcastic people though, in general. Cruising into number 8 is Joan Rivers. Back in November 2013, Jen did an interview with the Yahoo CEO Marissa Mayer and was asked about body positivity. One man asked her a question on behalf of his daughter and said, "Having experienced body image criticism in Hollywood, what is your advice to young girls dealing with the same treatment from their peers and your response to those who judge others based on appearances?" Jen responded by saying, "Screw those people," and went on to call out Joan Rivers' show Fashion Police. She called out the show and said that shows like that are showing younger generations of young people to judge other people based on things like their appearance, and that it is wrong. Joan wasn't too impressed with her comment, and she took her thoughts to Twitter. Some of her tweets said, "It's funny how Jennifer Lawrence loved the show during awards season when we were complimenting her every single week. She actually even went on to make a joke about Jen's famous Oscar fall and said that she tripped over her own arrogance." Shots fired. Although I don't fully agree with that show either. You're literally judging someone on their appearance. That's the entire show. Making his way into number 7 is Spencer Pratt. Seems like a really random feud since they come from two totally different worlds, one being a Hollywood actor and another coming from MTV reality shows. But in 2017, she landed the cover of Vogue, and during her interview, she said that her house was flooded with crystals. She said when she first moved in, there were crystals everywhere, and she asked to get rid of them ASAP because she hates them. She said, "Please get rid of these. I don't want people to come over here and think I'm a crazy crystal person." This is where Spencer Pratt came in. He is one of those crazy crystal people, as she called them. After the Vogue interview was out, he went on the defensive and announced that he felt personally attacked by her comments. He did an interview with The Morning Breath and said, "She was talking about me in Vogue, like 100% I'm the crazy crystal person she's clowning, so I'll see her. We'll bump into each other at the Beverly Hills Hotel like I see all the A-listers and they run from me." Honestly, I don't think she was talking about you. I don't think she cares. Really? Like in the Vogue interview, I don't think she's thinking of Spencer Pratt. No offense. In spot number 6 is Chloe Sevigny. Now I know I probably said that wrong, so just forgive me and move on from it, okay? The actress didn't hold back when sharing her thoughts on Jennifer Lawrence and was honest about it during an interview in 2015. She sat down with V Magazine and asked if she ever worries about being typecast. After admitting that she does, she explained herself and said, "They'll have a really peppy funny girl on the talk show rounds and everybody adores her and loves her and wants to be her, and then so many more people want to watch the movie or TV show." She then went on to name a couple of A-listers who she admires and one that she could do without. That one? It's Jennifer Lawrence. Her exact words were, "Jennifer Lawrence I find annoying, too crass." We're not sure why she targeted Jen in the interview. No reports surfaced about them having any kind of tension towards one another, so it still remains a mystery. The amount of times I've been called annoying in my life, I just take it as a compliment at this point. Halfway through at number 5 is Donald Trump Jr. Does he even count as a celebrity? Probably not, I don't know, but this is still a fun story that I wanted to include. I'm sure being the son of the former president who caused a ton ton of controversy, would often have you in the middle of feuds for anyone who didn't like your dad. Jennifer told Oprah that she would want to meet Donald Trump and said, "I've got a pretty good speech." And it ends with a martini to the face. "I have something to say for all of them. I watch different characters on the news and I'm like, you just wait." Not too long after that, Donald Trump Jr. had something to say to her. He went on Twitter and shared a link to the article with the headline, "Jennifer Lawrence, if I meet Trump, it'll end with a martini to the face." And he fired back and said, "I'm pretty sure that's not how it would end." Jen really didn't seem too bothered by his tweet, and she didn't bother tweeting back, which is probably for the best. Taking over spot number 4 is Kim Kardashian. This one seemed like a lot of miscommunication or an issue that was never an issue, but the media made it look like one. I'm still not really sure. Jen has made it clear for a long time now that she's obsessed with the Kardashians, and she even started having a friendship with Kris Jenner. According to a source who spoke to Radar Online, Kim started to have enough of Jen's attention. Reports claim that Kim went into a jealous rage over the close relationship that was developing between her mom and Jen. The source said, I quote, "Kim was always Kris's favorite until Jennifer crashed the scene. She was waltzing into the family's world, acting like a superstar and upsetting the order with her loud chaos. Kris says she's a hoot and treats her like the blonde daughter she never had. The sunshine walks with Jennifer in Kris's eyes, and Kim is fed up and doesn't know what to do." No one is sure if any of this is true because things seemed to be okay between them when Jennifer interviewed Kim on Jimmy Kimmel Live when she took over his show. It seemed very normal to me, but that could always just be an act. I'm really not sure. Sniping number 3 spot is Lala Kent. It's no secret that Jen speaks her mind and doesn't normally beat around the bush. But people were surprised to see some of the comments she made on Watch What Happens Live regarding Lala Kent. During the interview, she called her a C-word, because I cannot say that word. But apparently it was in a joking manner. Whether it was a joke or not, Kent didn't take too kindly to it and went on Twitter to talk about it. She sent out a bunch of tweets that have since been deleted. A month after, she went on a podcast to talk about it, and she made comments saying Jen's last 2 films were fails, and said she's the type of chick who would give Harvey Weinstein favors for roles. Honestly, that was just the tip of the iceberg of the comments she made. She went in very hard on the actress, even picking apart her appearance. However, Jen still stands by the fact that she was joking in her initial interview. I mean, I don't get the joke. When I'm joking, I don't use that word, but okay. Next up at number 2, we have J-Lo. This feud was never really a feud, but people didn't know that right away until J-Lo cleared it up once the media had turned it into something. During a visit to The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon back in 2014, Jennifer Lawrence treated the audience to a party story that included Jimmy and J-Lo. She revealed that she was drunk and she and Jimmy both saw J-Lo and they said they wanted to ask her to dance. So they made a plan that they would do a spin and say, "Dance with us." Turns out Jimmy chickened out, so Jen was left to do it on her own, but she got the cold shoulder from J-Lo. She did the spin, asked her to dance, and J-Lo replied with, "No, I think I'm gonna observe." Obviously, Jen was devastated, as I would be. So the media ran with that story. But J-Lo cleared things up with Access Hollywood and said that she told Jen, "I'm good right here," only because it was really crowded at the moment, so she just literally wanted to stay right there in that area. She cleared it up though by saying that she would have loved to dance with Jen. So kind of a big misunderstanding. In the number 1 spot is Lindsay Lohan. In December 2015, while promoting Joy on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, Jen stirred up some controversy with a dig at Lindsay. Colbert praised her for being a star who's willing to talk about the things that aren't so glamorous and asked her about getting sick while shooting Joy in Boston. Jen candidly talked about how she got a stomach virus and was puking a lot. During her story time, she said, "I just keep going until eventually my body is just like, if we don't make her barf or pass out, she won't stop. I get like Lindsay Lohan grade exhaustion, but without any drugs or alcohol." Immediately afterwards, Lindsay's sister Aliana jumped to her defense on Twitter and wrote, "I never breathe life into negativity, but I stand by my family. Disappointed in Jennifer Lawrence? Not cool." Lindsay ended up chiming in saying, "Thank you, sister. Maybe who you're referring to should learn to support others." Lindsay's mom then later told Entertainment Tonight that they have all been a fan of Jennifer's and her movies, and that it was very disappointing to see her trash talk Lindsay like that. I mean, I agree. Not a cool comment.
And at number 10, Piers Morgan. Infamous journalist Piers Morgan might be one of the most outspoken people against Meghan Markle. And there's actually a dating story behind that. It makes the whole thing even more juicy. So apparently Piers asked Meghan out on a date before she was with Harry, of course. And rumor has it that they went out on that date, but Meghan ghosted Piers after. And this could be the real reason that Piers can seem very angry towards Meghan when talking about her. Most recently, after Meghan's explosive interview with Oprah Winfrey, Piers did not hold back, trashing her on Good Morning Britain. And before him and the other hosts could even discuss the topic, he went on raging about how the interview's tarnishing the reputation of Britain around the world and hurting everything the Queen has worked so hard for. He also made a point to say that he does not believe a word that she says, so I mean, clearly he's not a fan. In at number 9, Wendy Williams. Wendy Williams trashes pretty much everyone on her show, so I'm not sure Meghan should take it personally, but for some reason, Wendy Williams really hates Meghan Markle and is not afraid to tell the world. When the couple first got together, Wendy said, quote, "There's way too much drama with her and that will not work out." Then when the two did get married and Meghan became a royal, Wendy said on her show that Meghan, quote, "weaseled her way into that kingdom," also calling her the, quote, "Duchess of Malibu." Then when Wendy was talking about the documentary Harry and Meghan: An African Journey, she spoke about how Meghan was warned that she should stay away from Harry, as the tabloids would ruin her whole life. But apparently Meghan didn't believe this. But Wendy didn't buy that and said, quote, "Yes, you did. You knew exactly what you were doing. Please don't try to garner sympathy from us." I guess insinuating that Meghan knew exactly the kind of press craziness that she was getting into. And at number 8, Katie Hopkins. Katie Hopkins is a well-known British writer who has made it very clear that she hates Meghan Markle. She once coined Meghan as the, quote, "American Kate Middleton," and, quote, "a budget princess die with an Oscar-winning innocent face." Hopkins even went on 60 Minutes to talk about Markle, who described her as a, quote, "nobody who, quote, wears bad clothes," plus agrees with some other haters who are calling Meghan a hypocrite. She even once clapped back at a tourist defending Meghan. When the tourist told her, quote, "There's nothing wrong with Meghan," Hopkins replied, quote, "but then there's nothing right with her either." And at number 7, Chrissy Swan. Chrissy Swan is an Australian TV personality that has been outspoken critiquing Meghan Markle. Chrissy first made comments about Meghan on Facebook, following news of the royal engagement between Prince Harry and Meghan. She wrote, quote, "For some reason, I still haven't warmed up to her," adding that she felt Meghan was still acting while she was out with Harry, saying that the humility that she showed was all just an act. While a few people agreed with Swan's opinion, others were mad, calling her a bully and saying that they were, quote, "very disappointed by her comments." And at number 6, Trevor Engelson. So if you don't already know who Trevor Engelson is, he's actually Meghan Markle's first husband. And for the most part, he's actually been pretty respectful to Meghan's privacy and hasn't commented publicly about her. But that doesn't mean that comments he made in private about her haven't been leaked to the public. Royal biographer Andrew Morton is the one that spilled the beans on Engelson's feelings towards Meghan. In his book called Meghan, a Hollywood Princess, the author portrays Trevor's alleged dislike for his ex-wife. In the book, the author reveals that Engelson initially loved being married to Meghan, but later felt like nothing to her, which was confirmed to him when Meghan allegedly mailed her wedding ring back to Trevor out of the blue after 2 years of marriage. Halfway at number 5, Erin Foster. Erin Foster is the daughter of musician David Foster, as well as a writer and performer. She's another person that is known for blasting celebrities online, with Meghan being one of those people. In November of 2017, Erin posted a photo of Meghan from her Deal or No Deal days and captioned it, quote, "never forget," which is definitely some subtle shade. Then, just to make sure her followers would not forget, she posted another picture of Meghan with a briefcase and added an even harsher caption that read, quote, "This briefcase is filled with my plans to be famous." So it's clear that she just thinks Meghan is a clout chaser hungry for fame. And at number 4, Prince Andrew. Now we're getting into some of the people in the royal family who are not too fond of the Duchess. Apparently, a source said that after she got engaged to Prince Harry and went to speak with his family, Prince Andrew was not very kind to her, while Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip were warm and welcoming. The source said that his difference in behavior with Meghan compared to the other royal members was very noticeable. I would assume even to Meghan herself. He definitely did not say or do anything rude. However, we all know that a person's tone can really say so much. And at number 3, Kate Middleton. This one is a little heartbreaking if it's true, but it's widely speculated that Kate Middleton and Meghan do not get along. And these rumors were made worse by Meghan's Oprah interview. But this all could just be speculation from the fans of each of the women, as now that Kate finally has some competition for the love of the people in Meghan, the fans of the two women seem to be battling it out on social media. But it also seems that new info we are learning from the palace is fueling the divide too. Like the fact that Harry and Meghan moved away from William and Kate at one point, or the fact that the brothers' joint staffing agreement was recently ended, with people thinking Meghan is the reason for this new divide between William and Harry. There was even a rumor that Meghan made Kate cry at one point. However, Meghan revealed in the Oprah interview that it was actually the other way around. However, Kate apologized to Meghan, and Meghan seemed to genuinely accept it in the interview. And at number 2, Katy Perry. So this is a random one, but singer Katy Perry threw some serious shade at Meghan's way after her wedding. When the American Idol hosts were all asked about Meghan's dress, Katy replied, quote, "I would have done one more fitting. I'm never not gonna tell the truth. One more fitting, but I love you." But that's not all. Perry added on after, quote, Kate won, clearly referring to the fact that Kate had the better dress. But Kate Middleton's Alexander McQueen dress was stunning, I can't even lie about that. And since that was a common sentiment around social media at that time, especially about the dress not being altered properly, most people did agree with Katy. And at number 1, Princess Eugenie. Princess Eugenie is another member of the royal family that many believe does not like Meghan. Apparently, the main reason for the spat is that when Harry and Meghan announced their engagement, Princess Eugenie actually had to push back her own wedding because of it. An insider said the princess was extremely unhappy about having to push back her wedding date due to Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's wedding, as the princess and her fiance were supposed to get married in September of 2018, but were forced to postpone it because of the royal wedding. Princess Eugenie also reportedly hated Meghan for choosing St. George's Chapel at Windsor Castle for their wedding venue, since it was Princess Eugenie who wanted that venue first. She did get married shortly after, but obviously her event was very overshadowed.
At number 10, Eminem. What happens when one rapper crosses another? Well, a feud begins. We've seen this type of thing before with a number of rappers like Nicki Minaj and Cardi B, Kanye West and Drake and Meek Mill, and just so many others. But another toxic duo we can include here is Eminem and Machine Gun Kelly, because their feud has also been pretty big. It all started back all the way in 2012 when MGK was 22 and he tweeted about Eminem's then 16-year-old daughter Haley. MGK tweeted calling Haley hot in, quote, the most respectful way possible because M is king. Now, even though Kelly meant to be respectful, he still crossed the line with that tweet, and so a feud began. Because of this initial tweet, MGK's music got banned on the radio for a while, and as it would, it made him angry, especially with Eminem, so in 2018, MGK made a song with Tech-9 where he shaded the rapper, and then shortly after that, Eminem hit back with his own song shading his rival in return. From that point, it was just a lot of messy back and forth, talking trash about each other in interviews and in music. Really, at one point, this beef just kind of got exhausting and people just started speculating that this feud was just fabricated because they're both signed to the same label. It's been pretty quiet between them since early 2020, so maybe this toxicity has subsided, but you can never really be too sure with these two. At number 9, Conor McGregor. Now this beef here is what got a lot of people scratching their heads because it seemed to have just come out of the blue, and it left a lot of us feeling a little confused. At the VMAs this year, while walking the red carpet, there was quite the altercation between MGK and Conor McGregor. The rapper was at the VMAs for a performance and because he was up for an award, which he later won by the way, and Conor, well, he was just there for his buddy Bieber. Anyway, they were both on the red carpet at the beginning of the evening and an altercation broke out. Based on some of the footage that was posted of the event, Conor appeared to have thrown a drink at MGK and then proceeded to try and fight him. It was really dramatic and no one knows why the altercation even happened in the first place. It was first rumored that they got into a fight because MGK refused to take a picture with McGregor, but the rapper later denied those allegations. It was such a bizarre situation that no one really has any answers for, but clearly there's some kind of bad blood there, so if anyone really knows why that is, please let me know. Now before I carry on talking about people who dislike Machine Gun Kelly, I would first like to take a quick moment to ask you guys to consider leaving a like on this video if you're enjoying it so far, because your engagement really does help the channel grow and we really appreciate your support. At number 8, Gabriel Rodriguez. Now this next story I'm going to tell you about is one that I had no idea about until my roommate told me about it, so shout out to Blake for being the real MVP and saving this list. Basically, there was an altercation between the rapper and his bodyguards and an actor by the name of Gabriel Rodriguez at a bar because Rodriguez was mad at MGK for that tweet about Eminem's daughter that I told you guys about earlier. After the actor harassed the rapper at the bar, he was soon kicked out, but he caught up to MGK and his crew later on that night. Still angry, the actor and MGK got into a verbal altercation, and then the actor said that he would fight the rapper's bodyguards, which is exactly what ended up happening. The actor got pummeled, and charges were filed against the bodyguards, but this man was really determined to get into the ring, so to speak, with MGK because he said that he would drop all charges if he could fight the rapper one-on-one. Either way, this matter was taken care of through a lawsuit and with monetary compensation, but I wouldn't be surprised if that actor still wants to fight Machine Gun Kelly. At number 7, Jeff Lewis. It seems like Machine Gun Kelly isn't just loud on stage, but also at home. You would think that he would put this loud rocker persona to rest while at home in his free time, but according to his neighbors, that couldn't be further from the truth. His neighbors have said that he's known to host loud and crazy parties, disturbing much of his community, and he's also known to have joyrides with his friends on the block. Neighbors have also complained about loud motorcycles revving their engines at inappropriate times of the night, and his guests have also spilled over into neighboring properties from time to time. It's also been reported that during parties, Kelly's guests have parked in neighbors' driveways and have blocked many of the neighbors' cars as well. It really seems as though he doesn't have a sense of respect for other people's properties or quiet hours. This all caused a feud between the rapper and his neighbor TV personality Jeff Lewis, who exposed Machine Gun Kelly for his nightly shenanigans. Luckily, they were able to bury the hatchet after the rapper bought Jeff a bottle of champagne as a truce, but what I really want to know is, did the shenanigans actually stop, or did Jeff just get over it for the sake of his frenemy? At number 6, G-Eazy. Okay, now that we've talked about some non-music related beefs with Machine Gun Kelly, let's circle back to this Eminem feud because this is where a lot of the hate really stems from. When it comes to feuds like this, you always see people taking sides, and so this is how MGK made some enemies along the way since a number of other artists sided with Eminem on this matter, including rapper G-Eazy, and this made things a little messy. See, G-Eazy already had a mild amount of hate for MGK after beach photos surfaced of MGK and Halsey spending the day together. At the time, Halsey and G-Eazy were on a break, but as far as G-Eazy was concerned, that was still his girl and Kelly crossed the line. So when this Eminem versus MGK stuff started to heat up, G-Eazy obviously sided with the opposition. As we all know by now though, rappers just can't let things rest, and so MGK did a freestyle rap during an interview and shaded G-Eazy, and then G-Eazy collabed back with his own diss track for MGK. You know, this back and forth rapper drama is incredibly exhausting. Between them fighting over Halsey and picking sides in a completely different fight, things got messy, but the bottom line here is that they really don't like each other. Get away from me, Fly. Don't make me square up with you. At number 5, Halsey. But speaking of Halsey, we can't forget to include her side of the narrative here. Tying into this beef with Jeezy and MGK, Halsey was sort of stuck in the middle of this. She sort of had two people fighting over them, just adding to the overall messiness of the feud. Though I wouldn't say that she downright hates Machine Gun Kelly, there was a point where she certainly wasn't impressed by the way that he was acting. Halsey responded to all the drama that was going on at the time by calling Machine Gun Kelly, quote, pathetic. This is in response to the claims that MGK made during an interview where he said that he had, quote, smashed Halsey after allegedly dating in 2017. This all seems to be water under the bridge now since MGK and Halsey collaborated on the song Forget Me Too that was released last year, but I'm going to assume that it took a little while for things to cool off between them before coming back together to work. At number 4, Miller McCormick. Machine Gun Kelly recently made a new enemy, and that enemy is Miller McCormick, the brother of the late Mac Miller. The rapper was set to start production on a new film titled Good News, but after facing criticism from McCormick, it was looking like the film would start production untitled. The film in question was supposed to be about an up-and-coming musician who struggled with deep-rooted personal issues and is inspired by a lot of young rappers' origin stories. Now, the problem that Miller McCormick had with this film in particular was the fact that the title was the same as the last song that was released by Mac Miller posthumously. That, combined with the strange similarity to Mac's life, just didn't sit right with him, and he had to make that known. McCormick seemed to criticize MGK's movie on his Instagram where he said, quote, "F you movie, at least change the title." This sparked a number of others also calling for changes to the film, and this later reached producers who vowed to change the film's title. Now we don't know if all of this similarity to Mac Miller was intentional or not, but either way, MGK got in some hot water and probably lost some respect from McCormick. At number 3, Corey Taylor. Recently, Machine Gun Kelly went through sort of a metamorphosis of music, so to speak, reinventing his sound. The rapper recently released an album that was more punk rock alternative sounding, and a lot of people had opinions on it. As they do. One person who really had nothing nice to say about MGK's new sound was Slipknot frontman Corey Taylor, as he shared his thoughts on artists in the rock genre in a recent interview. Essentially, Corey said that artists these days are ripping off their sound from other more original artists, and he also took a jab at MGK when he said, quote, "I hate the artists who failed in one genre and decided to go rock. I think he knows who he is, but that's another story. I'm the worst. I hate everything, and people are used to that with me though." That seemed like quite a loaded comment at MGK, and there was a lot of fury behind it as well. Either way, this new sound that MGK is working with really seems to be paying off for him, since he recently won a VMA for Best Alternative Video for his song My Ex's Best Friend, which is actually a banger if you haven't checked that one out already. At number 2, Summer Rae. Even though Machine Gun Kelly is thriving with his girlfriend Megan Fox, apparently there's some alleged drama surrounding their relationship and his former relationship with Instagram model Summer Rae. This influencer recently alleged that MGK cheated on her with Megan while he was away filming for the movie Midnight in the Switchgrass. That film set is where Megan and MGK first met. Summer, going into more detail, said, quote, "I don't really feel bad saying that because he did kind of cheat on me with Megan Fox if you look at the timeline." Summer also alleged that she had confronted Kelly about why she was told that she wasn't allowed to be on the set for one of his music videos. MGK said that it was because of COVID, but she later found out that it was because Megan was playing the rapper's love interest in the video. Overall, Summer was just left feeling a little betrayed at the end of it all, so I don't really blame her for having some kind of negative energy towards Machine Gun Kelly. And finally, at number 1, Brian Austin Green. Now, the one person who I feel would really hate Machine Gun Kelly the most is Megan Fox's ex-husband, Brian Austin Green. Although he tried to make people think that things are all fine and dandy with him, and that most of his hostility is more so directed to Megan, I feel like deep down there's still some hatred there for Kelly, since he's the one that Megan fell in love with first after him. Ever since Megan and Machine Gun Kelly went public with their relationship, Brian has spoken out about the relationship a few times, but a lot of people feel as though he's hiding his true feelings. In one interview, when asked about how he found out about the relationship, he gave very few details and simply said, quote, "I found out in my own way, and that's as much detail as I'll give you on that one." Something just isn't right there, but I feel as though in time his true feelings will come out, and I feel like it might be a little messy too. Maybe a diss track will also come out of it.